Hey guys, Matt, IronTrap Garage, and we are back doing the chop update on the Mercury. So we've been breaking this down into bite-sized chunks that are very technical so that you guys can watch and see all what is involved into chopping one of these cars. And I think it's been pretty fun to show the process along the way. If you haven't watched any of those videos, you can go back and we'll have a little playlist, but you can watch all the different steps from the first cut all the way through. We will be showing updates on that. So in the last part of the video, we got the sail panels and stuff welded to the lower corner sections. And this video, what we need to do is start welding all those pieces together to make one whole back roof structure. But the first thing I need to do is actually cut out some work that I'm not happy with. Been trying to get better at that over the years, is instead of pushing through when I don't like something, going back and redoing it. So I find myself with the videos quite often trying to push forward to get the video done. It's a bad habit I've gotten into, and sometimes the work does suffer. So with me trying to do better work on this particular build or project, I decided I'm going to cut out the catwalk section. So a couple of mistakes that happened when I made the catwalk section. Number one, I got a little too quick to get the hammer out or whatever. I was trying to adjust the body line a little bit, and I overstretched the body line area, and the panel got like a potato chip. I had to go back and correct a lot of that, which just required a lot of hammering and dialing, and kind of scarred up the panel a little bit, and just wasn't very happy with it. The other thing that was kind of the nail of the coffin that we noticed, and I didn't think of ahead of time, was when I started making that panel, I actually made that body line or style line across where the roof meets the catwalk area that we're kind of designing in there. I made that line totally straight, not thinking that actually that panel has shape to it and needs to wrap around. So the line, actually, you need to make that line, to make the line look straight, you need to actually give it a little bit of an upward curve on the ends, real gentle curve. So when we got further and I had the panel all welded in, and we put these welded together sail panel corner pieces in, and you had the body lines on the corners at the same spot, you noticed that the body line appeared like it was dropping down because it was straight. And when you wrap it around, it made it look like it was dropping down. So that was a problem. So those two things, I decided rather than try and fix all those issues, went ahead and made a new panel. We're going to show you guys cutting the panel out, putting the new panel in, and what it looks like. And then we're going to try and get the sail panels welded to the main roof section in this video and finished all out. Hopefully by the end, I'm going to have one big giant roof, back half of the roof that I've made and welded together that we can show you guys before we do the final welding video in the next video. So that's my long-winded intro. Let's get to work. All right, so Steve and I swapped the Mercury around. He's working on Pete's old Survivor Custom, doing brake work and trying to get that thing back on the road. So we flipped it over here, and basically I'm just working on the back half. Just need to make sure I like everything. So we put the back there so we could stand back in the toolbox. So what we were doing in the last couple of shots, I basically trimmed off the old panel. I unfortunately didn't film it because I didn't know if I was going to like it or if it would work, but I basically made a new panel very quickly in the planishing hammer with a low crown die. I think it was like a 24 or something. I put some shape in this panel above and below after rolling this bead. So I ended up using a 1-inch bead roller die. I kind of forgot I had these when I initially made this panel. I got them for the free tee to do the T body line, and it worked perfect. A real light pressure, so that it just gave a soft, gentle little radius here. And what I can do is just basically with the planishing hammer, you can go over in that little peak there. If you're careful, you can get right up against it and kind of blend it out. A little DA sander just knocks the ridge off of it a little bit, and it all blends together. But what we did is we used that radius gauge or sweep. I got a bunch of them over here, and they go from like 0 to 100. But basically they're these body sweeps, they're all numbered, and they all have a different radius to them. So we went through those and found the radius that we needed. It's like a 10 or an 11, I think, and it had a nice, real gentle upsweep. So from the side, you can kind of see it. It's hard to see, but from the back, it kind of looks stock. Or stock, it looks like flat. So from the back, you're kind of like, you're looking for like a flat appearance, but from the side, you can see it has a little curve up on either side. So in the end, that body line looks correct. Everything's good. We ended up, I think I mentioned in another video, we ended up zip screwing the corners down. I don't like doing that, but we have so many pieces that we were having problems with the clecos. If one cleco was off just a little bit, it was like pushing the roof over, and I didn't like that. So we zip screwed that center section to make sure it stayed dead center. Got it all welded in, I planished it out. It sucked to go backwards a little bit, but I got it all in, fairly happy with it. So now what I've also done is I added these little corner pieces. Sometimes when you're making all this stuff, you can't always nail it exactly. So there was little sections where when I cut the panel and how it laid, it didn't exactly, I had little areas where it wasn't what I wanted. So I added these little pieces in so we can have a nice line to cut right at the trunk opening and weld in. Did the same over here. It's kind of hard to see after you planish it all. It's real hard to see the line. So these panels, because I have them like clamped down, there's a gap here, but once we trim everything, pull it together, it will flow in. You can see here I softened up this body line so it goes from more of a sharp body line around the corner, and then out in here it just softens out. So when I blend the two of these together and weld them in, I'll be able to just blend this line, because when you weld through that line, you're going to lose your bead. So I'll have to hammer and dolly or whatever and get them to kind of blend together. But we're kind of go from this soft line, and it's going to be soft here and then kind of get sharp, and then eventually when it welds into the side here, it's going to be a real sharp line, because that's where the roof comes down into the quarter panel. So that's what I'm going for. I'm going to make a couple more little pieces to adjust. Like this side, I got to make a little piece on the bottom here, which I did on the other side already. Get that all going, and then we're going to pull the roof off and pull the roof off and weld the sail panels in. So I got a lot of welding ahead of me today. All right guys, so we're gonna dive super deep here. I've been telling you guys we're doing these technical videos, so I'm gonna stop midway through tacking this and just show you some stuff that I never could find anybody showing me, and until I actually sat down next to someone, that, you know, some guys that were very talented, and watched them actually how they fit a panel. Ron Covell was one that I took a couple of his classes, and watching how he fit up a panel and the time he took to make it all fit together before he welded everything, I didn't know that, and I couldn't see it in any videos or technical information. So that's what I'm showing you. So what you can see is I got this tacked, and ideally this is what you want. Nice tight gap all the way through, even up here where it's not even clamped or anything. Just with a light finger pressure, I can make everything level. So what you're trying to do is, as you work up the panel, keep everything straight, keep all there's no ledge. Don't get lazy and let the panel overlap each other, and then just tack it, because you're always gonna have a ledge there that's gonna be weird. So try to make everything level. So what I've been doing, a little trick I do, is as I work up the panel, I have bought years ago these 4140 aircraft pry tools. You can get them at an aircraft supply store, but these are for, I think, for doing like wings and stuff like that, prying the metal. Similar idea, but these things are real strong, real thin. And what I do is I go way up high above where I'm welding, and I'll stick this in and shove it, and just let the weight of this hang in the weld seam. And even though they're like overlapped or flip-flopped, by the time you go all the way down to where you're welding, it'll end up being totally flat and level, and it makes it really nice. So that's what I do there. And then also put these reference marks so you can see here and here, so that way when I weld everything or cut all these, I didn't get lost. So all these marks, they all line up, and as I'm working my way up, you have to hammer and dolly these welds, because they shrink. Each time you tack weld, the weld shrinks a little bit, and it's actually going to pull your gaps. So if you have a really good fitting gap up here, as you weld, it's actually going to get too tight and want to overlap. So you may have to go back, and you might have seen on camera, I'll get under and I'll hammer and dolly a few of my welds, and all of a sudden it'll fit. All this stuff will start fitting again. So just slow and steady, doing these little tacks, making sure everything's fit and everything's nice and flush like this, where there's no huge gaps or overlaps or weird dives in the panel. And the better it fits up when you're tacking it, the better it's going to weld, the better it's going to metal finish out, and it's just going to be a better job overall. So patience has been a hard thing for me, but I've been trying to take my time when doing this stuff, and it always ends up coming out nicer the more time I take to make sure it fits well. So that's where we're at. I'm going to keep welding this up, and then I'm going to pull this off and probably finish weld this side and planish it all out, and then I'll go to the other side. I don't want to do too much welding and planishing with the panel getting out of shape with two of those big pieces. So we're going to do one at a time, finish it out nice, then move to the other side.
key here. Yes, sir.
All right, so I had the roof on and we took it off, and hopefully this is the last time it's off and we can put it back on and scribe. Well, it's gonna have to cut off one more time after we scribe to cut all the old metal around it. But what I'm doing is just gonna trying to slow myself down. I'm gonna spend an hour or two on this thing, just picking out some major lows or issues with the panel. That way, when it goes back on, some of these areas are going to be very hard to get to once they're welded in the car. So now it's the last time I can just sit on its chair and hammer and dolly everything. So I'm making notes for myself when it was on the car and everything was sitting how it's going to go. Of course, when we welded up into this body line here, we kind of lost the line because when you're welding it, it's just going to happen. So I need to get like make a chisel or take a piece of wood and just tap in with a soft dolly and just get that line to set back in there. You see I have notes here: flatten, and some spots here that's what the die number is, or the lower anvil or dolly or whatever. So this is a little low. It's a 24. It's a little low in the center there, so that's 24. So I want to bring all these up before we weld them because they're only going to get worse. And then I have a little spot here I noticed that's a little low around here. It's a little hard to get in here because there's a lip for the garnish molding. So I'm going to get in there the best I can, but it's a little low in here. I have a little spot I want to fix with the weld. This was a spot where the metal was a little not cut as nicely, and I had to sit and put some more heat in there. So I'm going to work that area, bring it up. That's probably why it's low here. Little low spot there, and that spot needs to be flattened. And of course, like we said, right where I welded in the body line there, that needs to be tapped down with like a corking tool or something. And then you can see up here, I have a little bit of a low spot just where all this intersected. So trying to adjust all this stuff, because anything that I don't like now or majorly don't like could potentially get worse when we weld the roof in, especially the stuff up towards the top and the perimeter. So work through all that, spend some time to hammer and dolly and the planishing hammer, and then fit it one more time, scribe it all, trim all the excess metal off this, and then we're gonna prime. I'm gonna prime the underside areas that might be hard to get to, just in case I can't get to some of that in the car. And then, yeah, I'm gonna put it on and it'll be ready to show you guys what it looks like all back on. Alright, so got the sail panels all welded to the center roof section, and now we have one giant rear half of a roof assembly that I basically built from scratch. Pretty cool. So the last couple shots, basically, Steve and I were working on, I just found a round post dolly that was like a 1-inch round post dolly, and it basically, we fit that in where the bead is, because it was like a 1-inch bead that we did in the bead roller, and we just went in there right where my my weld was, just tapped it down, and Steve was holding a rubber coated dolly. The reason we use that is basically it has a little bit of give, so you're actually able to form into that dolly rather than using a normal hard face dolly. We would have just been stretching the metal. We just kind of wanted to form it in, so using that rubber dolly, he held it tight against, I hit on it, and we just slowly kind of formed that bead back into it. And because everything was already shaped on either side of it and all around it, it kind of just fell into place. Not perfect, but it came out pretty good. I was able to just hit it with the DA sander and kind of blend everything in, and we'll work on it even a little more after we get everything welded in place. But I am good with it. The car's going to get body filler. I'm not that good, so I'm okay if we use a little bit of filler in there just to define lines, and any little lows or tooling marks from doing all this, it's totally fine. So got everything shaped. I ended up going back with the planishing hammer on this this catwalk area here and just bringing it up just a little bit, just a tiny bit. And I'm pretty happy with it. Again, same idea. It's going to have some little waves and stuff to it that are going to happen. We're also going to be welding on the edge of this trunk lid or trunk opening here, which may cause some distortion. The problem that I'm finding is that I can't get in here and finish this really good because there is bracing for the trunk hinges under there. So I'm just gonna have to work with what I get, and by welding in the trunk gutter here, I'm hoping I get minimal distortion out into the catwalk, and it'll be okay. But overall, now we can really see what the shape is looking like. We have currently 0 clecos holding the roof in. I just have 3 little zip screws in, which hold the roof centered and square, and everything's laying in pretty nicely. I'm going to have to just, once we cut all this, it's sitting a little high here still, because we haven't cut any of this metal away so that the roof can kind of fall down into where it needs to fall in. And then these body lines just right in here, I'm going to have to weld them up and kind of grind and smooth them in, or maybe use a little bit of lead and just shape them in. That's just what we're going to have to do there because it lays on top of where the quarter rolls in. But yeah, pretty psyched on it. This is awesome. So that's it for this video. Next video, we're going to show scribing, cutting, welding, cutting more of the car away, which is kind of crazy, and welding the roof catwalk, that whole section back in. And hopefully by the end of that video, we'll be able to really see what it's all going to look like, and we can roll it outside and check it out, which I'm very, very excited for. So thank you guys for following along for this kind of long process of doing the chop on the 39 Mercury. Thanks guys, catch you later.